Okay, what I am about to show you in the next slide is a marvel of engineering. It is a product so innovative that it brought about revolutions and wars and changed the course of humanity forever. I'm talking, of course, about the wheel. Hundreds of thousands of years before the invention of the wheel, some unlucky human stepped on a loose rock or an unstable log, and just before they cracked their skull, discovered that a round object reduces friction with the ground. And someone with an engineering mind witnessed this and probably said, interesting. The invention of the wheel made possible wagons and carts and carriages, changed transport, changed agriculture, encouraged the expansion of civilization, and sometime in the 18th century was monumental in the Industrial Revolution with the advent of engines and motors, and from there on, pretty much every single machine. And so, humanity had a problem. The problem of too much friction, and the proto-engineer who solved this problem helped to change the course of history. I'm Shiza Khalid. Welcome to our presentation on how engineers can improve their problem-solving skills. Sometime not too far off in the future, we are going to be employed as engineers, and the crux of our professional lives will be to solve problems. Problems that go unnoticed outside of the profession, or as a rather tongue-in-cheek definition of an engineer reads, an engineer is someone that gets excited about things no one cares about and solves problems you didn't even know existed. But nevertheless, our work is hugely important. It can, in many cases, be a matter of life and death because, as we have witnessed many times, engineering failures can be catastrophic. As a result, we must be prepared to be able to solve problems efficiently and responsibly, using the full force of our technical skill to produce products that will hold up to the highest of standards, and then not be paid as much as we should be for our efforts while large corporations take advantage of our skills. I'm kidding. Moving on, I hope with our presentation today, we can enlighten you as to why problem-solving skills are extremely important for modern engineers. The best way to improve these skills is to follow fixed steps that keep you grounded, and hence we will introduce to you the classic process of technological problem solving, some problems that can arise as you work your way through this process, and of course, how to solve these problems quickly and efficiently, how to cut through complexity and bias and arrive at magnificent solutions. We begin by presenting to you a simple problem: how to toast bread. What has to occur so that we end up with a delicious slice of well-browned, crunchy bread on our plate? It may involve a toaster. On screen now are 4 drawings I've made, which they're not very well made drawings, but I have tried to depict how bread gets toasted. I want you guys to head over to mentimeter.com now and choose which drawing do you think is the best depiction of the process of making toast. Faisal, please post the voting link. Has the voting link been posted? Okay. Well, let's move on. We'll get back to this once we collect the results. You can select an option. Just look at the images carefully and see which one of them do you think depicts best the process of toast making. Meanwhile, as you take a few seconds to do this, let's discuss why problem-solving skills are so important. Because 21st century engineers have to find solutions to problems humanity has never experienced before, with solutions that may be unheard of. We are living in an era where technological advancement is a part of everyday life. We've moved out of the digital age with unprecedented success. And we live in a time where new innovative products are launched one after another. This has greatly reduced the shelf life of products and is gradually bringing product development time down. Drug manufacturers, for example, have already reduced the development time of new products by over 2 times, from 10 years to 4. Shorter development times puts pressure on engineers to deliver novel solutions quickly. Another challenge in engineering is the sheer amount of information created in the fields of science and engineering every year. The rate at which new information is created is rapidly growing, and it can be difficult for engineers to keep up. It's practically impossible to teach all these new things during the 4 years of the engineering degree. And so we have to learn to adapt and to solve problems in new ways and make sure that we have the arsenal of skills required. Let's move to the poll results now. Hopefully, we have some results. Oh, wow. Okay, so no one prefers the middle two results. As you can see, B shows what goes on inside the mechanics of a toaster, whilst this one shows how a very simple approach as to just bread plus heat gives toast. Let's move to the presentation so we can see them clearly here. But as you can see, most of us prefer the methodical approach, that is A and D, an approach that clearly highlights the steps to take towards solving a problem. While D is much longer and includes the supply chain of purchasing the bread, they are similar in that they attempt to break the problem down into parts, thus creating a process. This leads us directly to the second part of our presentation. So over to Faisal, who will tell you all about the steps involved in the technological process of problem solving.
My name is Faisal Saeed and my roll number is 20191122. Today I am going to tell you about the steps which engineers need for technological method of problem solving. What is meant by technological method? The technological method refers to the system which are the results of scientific knowledge being used for practical purposes. The technological method of problem solving as a tried and tested approach to a problem and sticking to it while forming your plan ensures that everything runs smoothly and there is nothing haphazard or poorly thought out. It helps to divide your tasks into subtasks that you can deal with one at a time. As the saying goes, divide and conquer, and in this case, trust the process. There are four steps which we will explain today. First, understand the problem. Second, make a plan. Third, implement the solution. Four, verify the results. But before starting the steps, I will explain you the reference of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs once said, if you define the problems correctly, you almost have the solution. What is meant this? I will explain you people about this quotation. You all are electrical engineers. Imagine when someone gives you an assignment on electric circuit board and say you that this is a circuit board that have some errors, and you might say give you an idea about layout of circuit board. Then a person says that you should resolve this circuit complications according to layout. How can you solve this difficulty? Shall you solve this without using layout? Because layout gives you an idea about how you can identify the problem. Will you not identify the problems in the circuit board? I am sure that everybody will say that yes, our first priority to understand the issue, to understand the complication, or to identify the problem. If someone says no, I will solve this problem without identification, it means that he does not want to solve a difficulty or trouble, rather he wants to increase the problems. When you define the problems in this way that have the idea to solve these issues, and you become able to solve this difficulty, then you approach the solution, or you might say you solve this problem in best way. This is the idea which gives by Steve Jobs, and also this is the basic step, or you might say first step to solve the problem. Understand the problem. First step is understand the problem. First thing in this step is identify the problem. I have clarified this concept, or you might say idea to understand the problem with the reference of Steve Jobs, but I can say one more thing: without identify difficulties, engineers can achieve the solution. Engineers cannot achieve the solution. Second thing is that establish the aim, what you want to achieve, basically which type of solution you want. When you identify the problem and set the aim which you want, then you solve 25 to 35% part of your complication, or you can move forward on your work. The second step is make a plan. To make a plan, first of all, engineers should gather information. He can gather information by Google and some kind of other resources like some authentic books or some useful, or you might say some authentic thesis of engineers. and then should start a research. When your problem is too much complex, then you have to work according to that problem. So you have to work hard. The second thing is that in making a plan, brainstorm possible solution. When you search on your problem more and more, then you several solutions comes into your mind. After that, you have to realize which type of solution you want. What is the best solution of that problem? Will this solution is helpful to solve the problem? Is this more reliable, or you might say more powerful? Listen, I will give an example. When an electronic workshop teacher gives an assignment of PCB that have many type of errors, and he asked to solve these errors, or you might say to solve these problems, can anybody tell me that which is a possible solution to solve PCB errors? Most of the people will say that first we will see the circuit diagram and we'll try to identify the problem. You will keep an eye on those type of materials which need to make PCB. You make a plan, gather information, and research on that. Different type of solutions comes into your mind, but you have to choose the best one. You are an electrical engineer and you know about, when we talk about PCB size, then the minimum size PCB is best one. You can choose large size for PCB, but you have to choose the best solution. Your plan to implement the solution, it means basically you move forward, and you have to implement the solution not only to develop your plan, but also you define, or you might say you clarify your plan tasks and resources. When you understand the problem, make a good plan, gather information in a proper way, and research on that, then times comes when you implement on your best solution in an appropriate manner. This is the last step to solve your problems. After implementation, you look on to the side of tests and evaluations. It means you want to check that this is the solution which I want. Is this solution working? If yes, then everybody will think about this, about that this is the end of the problem. But I will tell you, most important thing is that this is not the end of problem. This is the time when you have to compare your results with the criteria. It means that you have to verify your results according to given task. If the result is not according to the given task, then you should modify your result. Listen, I will give you an example that Sir Rihan or Sir Irfanullah Chaudhary gives you an assignment to solve according to C language. But by mistake, you have to solve the assignment according to Python. And at the end, when you modify, or when you compare the results according to the criteria, you realize that you should solve this assignment according to C language. So you have to modify your results according to Python. This is from my side, and I would like to invite Muhammad Umar Naeem to present the presentation further.
Assalamu alaikum. I myself Muhammad Umar Naeem is going to present that which type of problems are in engineers due to which they face difficulties in solving problems, which things make them to solve their technical problems. Of course, this process was not always go smoothly. We are only humans and we will encounter many problems along the way. We will go through some of these problems. Lack of confidence in your abilities. If a person who is engineer but he did not face difficulties in his life, then there is lack of confidence in his abilities. For example, if a person is professional cricket player and his friend is not, then he has guilt that he is not able to play, although he should practice more and more to challenge his professional friend. Due to lack of confidence, negative thoughts comes in mind and then a person thinks that he cannot do anything. Please next slide. Frustration and losing hope. Always remember that your present situation is not your final destination. The best is yet to come. Every day is another chance to change your life. People which are frustrated, they depressed and then they do not able to do valuable things in their lives. Many of the people lose their lives by thinking negative and losing hope. Overworking and information overloaded is the cause of frustration and losing hope. I think in this world significantly in this 21st century, everyone is very busy in his daily life, especially due to the invention of smartphones and internet. Everyone have to pay their time to work on smartphone. As we know, nowadays we people are consuming our time on laptops to take our online classes. Sometimes there are many complications that we people have to face problem solving. For example, in everyday life, we wake up early in morning and do breakfast and look at our work, and then we suddenly have to do many of the things at the same time. So information overloaded is the cause of frustration and losing hope. The poor time management is also the cause of frustration and losing hope. It means we are not able to see large picture and plan of our goals. Due to this problem, many of the complications close in us. Your time is more valuable than your money, make it fabulous. When the time is managed perfectly, then there are very least chances that we will face difficulties in life. Please next slide. Not carrying enough research. Every time when we see a new thing and we wanted to know about it, then we have to search about it. We have to see the roots of the thing. Just like this, when we look at technical problems, we have to search about it as much as we can. Like nowadays, pharmacists are researching to invent corona vaccine. They firstly research about it, what is corona and what are the reasons of spreading, what are the symptoms and structure and all the other things about corona. And they are finding its solution in the form of vaccine. So research is very important to do anything. Sometimes research become people's inventor of something which they don't know. Why people don't carry enough research? The cause is due to overconfidence. Overconfidence is good, but confidence is good, but overconfidence always sinks the ship in which we people put our aims and goals. So if we people want to get success in every race of life, then we have to confident, not overconfident. As we know the story of rabbit and turtle. Please next slide. Lack of technical skills. Technical skill is the source to solve technical problem. The people who don't have interest to solve a problem practically, they see lack of technical skills in their personalities and face problems. At university level, if we lack commitment to the technical aspects of our profession, we cannot hope to be good engineer in the future. And there is another thing, lack of communication with professionals. A person is intelligent who learns from others' experience, not who experience and then get nothing. When a professional works, then we should see his work and ask him to tell us the concepts of the problem. Eventually, this comes under the research category. We cannot hope to learn the intrinsics of a profession without open and efficient communication with the professional in the industry. Now I would like to call Shisa to present the next part.
Overcoming these challenges may not be simple, but that's just engineering for you. First and foremost, we have to approach technical problems strictly technically, and that means putting any and all biases or personal opinions aside and looking at the problem from a fair and objective point of view. Don't approach a problem with, I think this is a viable solution. Try a more rational approach, say, this solution is more viable because, and list out the various reasons that you have. Rethink your thought process and ask yourself whether your solution can be improved upon. Remember to trust the process to guide you through a methodical solution. This can help put a problem into perspective and can help overcome any preconceived notions you may have about the issue. Another thing that cannot be stressed enough is research. Do lots and lots of research. It is unlikely that the problem you've encountered is a unique one, and others may have encountered it before you. Doing detailed research can help you learn from past mistakes and can ensure you have all the necessary information about the various technicalities of the problem before you begin to implement the solution. The last thing you want is when you are at the implementation stage and you discover that you've overlooked something seemingly small but ultimately very important. And at that stage, it can be very cumbersome and even expensive to revert back onto your plans. We already have enough problems to deal with as engineers, so let negligence not be one of them. A very important thing to remember is that as engineers, we will be working in teams. Engineering is not a solitary job, and we will have to learn how to work efficiently with our colleagues. Compromise is a part of the job, and whether we like it or not. It is of essence to remember that teamwork is a powerful tool that can accomplish wonders when it comes to solving problems. As Ken Blanchard, the American author, said, none of us is as smart as all of us. In order to produce effective teamwork, there must be a high level of interdependence among team members, and the key to this is healthy communication. Communicate with your colleagues, seek out differing opinions, and never underestimate the power of group brainstorming. Some of the best ideas and the best solutions that you will come up with will be formed in this way. Of course, with every team comes clashes, and as a result, an important characteristic of effective teamwork is healthy conflict resolution. So we must be open to ideas and suggestions and make any conflicts that arise be resolved with the singular goal of solving the problem and nothing else. And now we come to an oft ignored but arguably the most important part, mental health. Stress and sleep deprivation, along with being overworked, can have extremely adverse effects on your brain. It can make you less motivated, it can lower your enthusiasm, and it can prevent you from giving your best performance. I think we've all accepted that we often need to give up sleep if we want to, have a life, because where's the time? But difficult as it may seem, we should direct more focus on our mental health. The key thing is to employ a time management strategy that makes sure that you solve tasks in an organized manner rather than let the demons of procrastination make you cram everything as the deadline approaches. As students, there is a lot we can do to prepare for our future careers as engineers, and that means going the extra mile and seeking out challenges that are beyond your assigned university tasks. Try to improve your critical thinking skills, attend workshops, work on personal projects with your friends as a way to strengthen your technical skills, and practice coding, practice your calculus. Try to refine your technical skills until you are as familiar with them as you are with the back of your hand. A good engineer is someone who knows their stuff and someone who has an active appreciation of the technicalities of their profession. Finally, a small but important reminder that practice makes perfect. The more you practice your hand at smaller problems, the easier, more high-scale problems will come to you. We have a lot of challenges ahead, so let's work on strengthening our skills as we come closer and closer to entering our professional lives. And remember, drink lots of water. That concludes our presentation. We are open to any questions that you may have.
Assalamu alaikum. Myself Ahmed Asim. I, along with my mates, am delighted to show you how to improve your problem-solving skills as an engineer. We engineers face a whole lot of problems in our educational and professional life. So according to you future engineers, you are attending university to become an engineer. What should we do when we face any problem? You guys can use the chat box to contribute. That's okay. But everyone has his or her own point of idea about anything, about solving a particular problem. Every engineer has a different idea to solve a particular problem, but it commonly lacks one thing or other. Life is full of problems, and engineers' approach is different from an ordinary person. As an engineer, we people face more than average problems in our lives as compared to an ordinary person. In different conditions, of course, but we must remember one thing, that every approach matters. Whether you are an engineer or an ordinary person, everyone has his or her own approach. According to Scott Adams, who is a well-known computer programmer, engineers like to solve problems. If there are no problems readily available, they will create their own problems. And this is quite right. We are engineers, we are becoming engineers, and we like problems. That's why we chose engineering. Now, whenever we face any problem, all we do is to find ways how to bypass that problems. We engineers should have the courage and confidence in ourselves that we can solve any problem, because engineers are meant to solve problems. Making up our mind solves 50% of the problem already. We should take problem as a challenge. If you are thinking the problem as a burden, then you should take it as a challenge, because life is full of challenges, and one feels delighted to take the challenge. Now, I would like to give you an example from our very own lives. Whenever any assignment is due, whether it's PF assignment or LTM assignment, all we try to do is to do that assignment as soon as possible. Most of us try to plagiarize others' work, which is not the right thing to do. The right thing to do during any problem, being an engineer, is to focus on the problem and derive your own methods for that particular problem instead of just plagiarizing. To solve any problem being an engineer, the first utmost thing we should do is to understand the problem. Now, we engineers are already taught how to solve our problems in our educational lives. Our teachers teach us on how to deal with problems and deal with other stuff. But as you all know, not everything is perfect and everything requires improvement. To improve our problem solving skills, we should first look thoroughly into the problem we are dealing with, and then break the problem into sub problems. We must remember one thing, that we should never do anything on hit and trial basis. I repeat, an engineer must never do anything on hit and trial basis, because we engineers are meant to do calculations. We engineers are meant to do things in an ordered manner. People perform an action and then say, "Oh, this was not the right thing to do. Let's try something else." This is quite wrong. This would create more mess. We should first analyze the problem and then work by divide and conquer rule. We should take the problem as a whole and then divide into sub problems. Then we solve the sub problems, and the bigger problem would be solved automatically. And by this, we would be able to devise new and efficient ways to solve that particular problem, as well as we would gain more experience. And the most important thing we should do is to never pass on our problems to some other experienced person. Like, whenever we get a project, the students go to Hall Road and then give some rupees and then get the full made the project. This is quite wrong. We are not meant to do this. We are becoming an engineer, and we should do everything by our own hands. We may take guidance from or help, but we should do everything by our own hands. And we should focus on relaxing. We should not panic. We should take breaks and time to solve the particular problem. Now, I would like to request Mohammed Fazil to further explain on the topic.
Why the engineers are facing lack in problem solving techniques and their skills, and how they will improve their skills. Over the last 2 decades, the engineering profession has changed immensely. This change requires engineering education to adjust to the new conditions and requirements. Engineering of the 21st century are facing new challenges to what they were just 20 years ago. Problems today are more open-ended, which is the most which is the most problem for the engineers. Engineering now have to find solutions to problem they have never experienced before, solution which might be unheard of. Another challenge in the educating engineers is related to the amount of information created in the fields of science and engineering annually. It already exceeds what an ordinary engineer is able to comprehend, and the rate at which new information is created is rapidly growing. So an engineer must be in touch with the new articles and the new research related to his field. Now I will now have a look on the next slide. As the Charles Handy have said, life seems to be a succession of open-ended problems with no right answers. But problems, nevertheless, which demands an answer. Now I will discuss furthermore. Let's have a look on the next slide. The thinking is the most important thing for an engineer. According to the Harvard Oxford Dictionary, thinking is defined as using the mind to consider something, to form connected ideas, to try to solve the problems. The thoughts and the actions of an engineer using trial and errors are unstructured. So the result of the thinking is unpredictable and heavily dependent on the personality of the problem solver and his experience. The open-ended problems in the span of the 4 era of engineering, our engineer is taught many subjects. So in the field, he will face the problems which are known and unknown to him. So he will work harder on his skills and he will consider the studies he have studied. According to the recent education assessments, most of the engineers lack the basic problem solving skills, which is a dilemma for all of us. What is the importance of skills in our professional life? The importance of the skill is in our professional life is utmost because our company is dependent on you. If you are not able to solve a problem in the meantime, then the company will lose its share in the market and face a disastrous loss. Let's have a look on the next slide. Now I will discuss the survey which was published in 2006 which was published by the Iori Belsky, that was conducted in 2006 in RMIT University of Australia. In next slide please. This slide shows the results of the survey. 42 students of the second semester were conducted into a survey in which they were asked to deliver the solution of the problem, but most of them were not able to do so. So the author Iori Belsky suggested that they should be enrolled into a subject which is called as Theory of Innovative Problem Solving, TRAZ, and the subject was conducted over the 13 weeks in the second semester. The results of the survey shows that the most of the students were then able to do the solve the problems. Next slide please. The following three are the pressurizing factors for a person if he lack any of these abilities: the need to quick problem solving ability, abilities to consider open-ended problems, abilities to cope well under information overload puts engineer under unfamiliar pressure. This is the most important one.
Okay, so I'm going to discuss some methods to improve your skills. So the first method I'll discuss is don't memorize the process. When you try to memorize anything, you put a lot of stress on our mind, and also it's very time consuming. Then what happens? Eventually you forget what you have memorized. And when we are trying to solve the problem, we are blank. We have nothing to explain. Now the question arises, what should we do if we shouldn't memorize things? The solution is simple. Just understand the logic behind them. Don't memorize them. Let me give you an example. You are making a wearable of 4 7 segments. But in class, you memorize making 1 7 segment. So what will happen at some point? You will say, oh, I'm stuck. What to do next? But if you didn't memorize it, you just understood the logic. So it will be easy for you. If you get stuck at any point, you can solve it easily. So the next method is make your own mnemonic. Not to memorizing things is okay, but logic doesn't work everywhere. Sometimes we have to memorize things. So it can lead you to the problem. How to memorize this formula or whatever. Am I right? The best way to avoid this problem is to make your own mnemonic. For example, I have to memorize the sequence of color code of physics. So what shall I do? I'll make my mnemonic like, be better ready or your great if plan goes wrong. Similarly, I can memorize James Polk invented liver by imagining a polka-dotted liver. So isn't it will be easy for me to memorize it? The next method is use your resources. When you are doing some work at any point and you are stuck, and you don't remember any logic or you don't even have your mnemonic for that, you will think what to do now. The best way to avoid this is to use your resources. Now, what things does resources include? Resources may include notes, any books, or anything else. By using your resources, you can reduce the time to solve your problem, right? Next method is solve neatly. Sometimes we face a lot of problems and we don't know that which should we solve first. The best way to solve your problems safely is just organize them and think which we have and the things which we have to solve the first, which is shorty and handy, and leave the tricky one for the later. So it will help you in time management and problems will get solved too. For solving tricky ones, use divide and conquer method. Just divide your problems to the steps and solve them step by step. The next method is draw as you imagine the problem. When you are solving a problem, make a diagram as you visualize what can be done with it. So this is more of a time saving because as you know, time is essential. If the problem is long, you will waste the time rereading the problem. What you have to do with it, or just draw your diagram. It's better if you illustrate right away as you read. Then the result is you will know what to do, and in no time the problem is solved. The next method is help as much as you can. Helping others is good, but what else do we need if it is beneficial for us as well? One of the most effective ways to understand the topic is to teach them to others the simplest way possible. Helping others understand the topic also helps you understand them even more. It is one of the best ways for retention. While you also discover that others have questions you never thought to ask. Remember what great Albert Einstein has said. If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. So what will be the benefit if you are asked that question somewhere? You will be prepared for it, and the problem is solved before occurring. All these are methods to improve problem solving ability. From now on, Naman will continue this chapter.
Assalamu alaikum. Myself Mohammad Naman Qayyum. I'm going to end this topic. Now, fixing things that are broken. Some things wear out and break over time, others are flawed from day one. Personal and business environments are full of things, activities, interaction, and processes that are broken or not operating in the way they are designed to work. Problem solving gives us a mechanism for identifying these things, figuring out why they are broken, and determining a course of action to fix them. Addressing risk. Humans have learned to identify trends and developed an awareness of cause and effect relationships in their environments. These skills not only enable us to fix things when they break up, but also anticipate what may happen in the future based on past experience and current events. The problem solving can be applied to the anticipated future events and used to enable action in the present to influence the likelihood of the event occurring and or alter the impact of the event does occur. Improving performance. Individuals and organizations do not exist in isolation in the environment. There is a complex and ever-changing web of relationships that exist, and as a result, that action of one person will often have either a direct impact on others or an indirect impact by changing the environment dynamics. These interdependencies enable humans to work together to solve more complex problems, but they also create a force that requires everyone to continuously improve performance to adapt to improvements by others. Problem solving help us understand relationships and implement the changes and improvements needed to compete and survive in a continuously changing environment. Seizing opportunities of problem solving isn't just about responding to and fixing the environment that exists today. It is also about innovating, creating new things, and changing the environment to be more desirable. Problem solving enables us to identify and exploit opportunities in the environment and exert some level of control over the future. Now in the end, problem solving skills and the problem solving processes are a critical part of daily life, both as individuals and organizations. Developing and refining these skills through training, practice, and learning can provide the ability to solve problems more effectively and over time addresses problems with a greater degree of complexity and difficulty.